So what if I told you that GM had an Australian secret? That they built 4 insanely good cars over a 15-year time period and then handed it all off to a marketing department that just apparently phoned it all in. Today, we're talking about all 4 of those orphans. Yep, I said 4. Welcome to Off Camber. So GM acquired full ownership of Holden in 1931. Holden was GM's Australian subsidiary, and Holden built some real-ass cars for the Australian market. V8-powered rear-wheel drive animals that made zero apologies for the tire budgets that you needed to have to drive these things. Leading up to the 2008 crash, GM was getting hammered in sales on performance cars. So they looked at what Holden was making, then they looked at their lineup and they said, let's ship a couple of them here. The problem seems to be that they forgot to tell their marketing department about the cars at all. The advertising on what should have been a home run for GM turned into a bunt that fouled right off into the catcher's glove. Then the catcher took it, threw it to third base for the double play. And I know you'll correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, and you'll probably do it angrily like I kicked your dog, but I don't think that Chevy even ever ran an SS commercial. All the other ads were like, hey, you over there, check out our 2-door Grand Am with a V8, and then ran those ads midday on a Sunday when everyone but your grandparents were outside.
The 260 horsepower supercharged Grand Prix Comp G. The new 275 horsepower GXP. And now, the 350 horsepower GTO. Pontiac, fuel for the soul.
4 of these cars crossed the ocean. 2 were Pontiacs, 2 of them Chevrolets, all built to the same plant in Elizabeth, South Australia. We're going to go in the chronological order that they sent them to us, so let's go. The 2004 to 2006 Pontiac GTO. So back in 2008, GM needed a halo car for Pontiac because, well, they had introduced the Aztec and they killed the Firebird off, and people still hadn't forgiven them for that. So Holden had a Monaro, which was a 2-door coupe with a V8 and rear-wheel drive. It could take the place of the Firebird, so GM said, you know what, that's good enough. They slapped a GTO badge on it and they sent it here. People were immediately upset by it. Not because the car sucked, but because it didn't look anything like the original GTO, and the only thing that maybe tied it back was the split grille. But even that was a stretch. The original GTO was an appearance and performance package on an existing model, the Le Mans. This new one was a standalone. Honestly, they reused the wrong name and were surprised that people had opinions about it. The 2004 was also boring to look at. Nothing about it said performance. It even had a single exit exhaust. They fixed that in 05 with some hood scoops, a little bit more aggressive rear valance, and a proper dual exhaust. But talk about a swing and a miss. The golden years for these cars are the 05 and 06 cars. And that's only because they both got the 6-liter LS2 at 400 horsepower. The 04 with the LS1 at 350 is still a solid buy. But when the LS2 car is out there and there's actually more of them on the market, you try to get one of those. About 31,000 of these cars were sold total in the United States across all 3 years. That's not very many cars. And GM doesn't even really want to admit that they ever did this. So there's next to no part support for them, and a lot of what they do have is discontinued. And that's the real shame in this. They're going to let these cars die quietly too. Got a GTO, need some parts? Check out GTOG8TA.com for parts. They have NOS stuff all over the place for them, and after that, you're probably looking at the land down under for stuff. The nightmare situation for these cars? There are 2 things to talk about. The interior door handles start flaking. They don't seem to break, but they look like crap. Luckily, they aren't terrible to replace, but nobody really wants to pull interior panels on a 20-year-old car. And the bigger of the 2 problems, most of the bushings wear out prematurely. The control arms, they go like every other car in the world. But we're mostly worried about rear subframe bushings. The rear end is going to start sagging, so when they go bad, at least there's a quick tell to look for. But it will also cause the rear end to hop around on launches, and hopping around while doing burnouts or launches breaks other parts. So check them out when you're looking at the car and keep some room in the budget to go through everything. The first $1,000, intake and a tune on the LS2. This engine breathes really well. LS1, same thing. Give it some air and a performance map and it's going to reward you for it. Then look at those bushings if they aren't a problem yet. Start thinking about replacing them because more power is going to accelerate their demise if they're already close. And then, of course, save for some coilovers and add more low. Are you an 04 guy for those low-key looks, or are you just in the don't care, give me more horse ponies camp? Tell me down in the comments. Or Tell me I look fat in this shirt. I don't know. I'm up for whatever. 2008 to 2009 Pontiac G8 GT, GXP, or if you're super lucky, a GXP Firehawk. Some of you met the G8 and the V8 sedans video. In that video, I gave you the highlights, but this car deserves more than highlights. I also got an engine code wrong in that video. I said the GT came with the LS2, when in reality, it came with the L76. The comment section made sure that I understood that extensively with sources and a lot of insults that really hurt my feelings. Just kidding. I don't actually have any feelings. Well, I do, but the only one that I actually can ever identify is warm. This time, though, I'm going to give you the whole story. I got the engine code right, too. So there were multiple versions of this car. There was even one with a V6, but whatever, right? The G8 GT gets the 6-liter L76. It has 361 horsepower. Then there's the GXP. That has a 6.2-liter LS3 with 415 horsepower. But there were only 1,829 of those ever made, total. Then there's the GXP Firehawk from SLP Performance Group. I've heard the number 9 thrown around for that one, so happy hunting. If you find a GXP at a fair price, snatch that thing up, auto or manual. About 38,000 total G8 sold across the entire 2008 and 2009 model years. More than the GTO got, but still not enough if you ask me. And then in 2009, GM went bankrupt. Pontiac was killed. No, not Buick. Pontiac got killed. And the G8 went with it. Right, it was actually getting pretty good too. There was a truck version coming, by the way. It was called the G8 ST. It would have basically been a new version of the El Camino. They announced it, started doing ad photography for it, and then canceled it when the money ran out. Australia got to keep the ultimate mullet mobile. In America, we got Buick. Lucky us. The nightmare situation with these cars is the AFM, or the active fuel management. The L76 and the G8 GT has it. The GXP with the LS doesn't. But it shuts down 4 cylinders of cruise to save fuel. And eventually, it will shut down your dreams of 1,000 horsepower daily if you don't get rid of it. Long term, this disaster of a system causes lifter failures. Delete the AFM before it deletes your bank account. These failures are inevitable on this engine. They're like taxes. You know they're coming. And if you fix it now, at least you get to pick how angry you are about the cost. The first $1,000 you want to spend, get an AFM delete kit. The L96 kits are going to work on them because the L76 and 96 are both on the Gen 4 architecture. You're going to spend a little over $1,000 to get the parts for it, but it's worth every penny. It's going to cost you more if you need to have someone else do the work for you. Then, budget for coilovers. Whoa. Hang on a second. We're going to stop the video for just a minute. I know some of you guys out there are watching the video and not subscribing. What I need you to do is hit that subscribe button so that way we can grow this channel out.
We're talking to you, bro.
Like it, leave a comment, do something, but we need to get you to subscribe. It's free. It doesn't hurt. Might as well do it. Otherwise, I'll send him.
You don't want me at your doorstep, do you?
It's not that he's going to beat you up. What's going to happen, though, is he's going to annoy you to the point that you want to give him back. And I'm not going to take him back. He's going to be yours. So remember, like, comment, and subscribe. 2014 to 2017 Chevrolet SS. So next we're going to talk about the Chevy SS. Yep, this one was also on the V8 sedan list. You can catch that one here if you want to watch that video too. Multiple comments came back on that video of some version of, wait, what is that car? Which proves exactly why it's on this list too. Down there in the wide brown land, this one is the Holden Commodore VF, the final version of this platform and the absolute best version of this car. This thing has decades of development behind it and the visual presence of, well, a rental car. If you need people to know you have a fast car, the SS is going to frustrate you to no end. It looks like a Malibu. So much so that I've actually wondered if GM was playing a low-key joke on us. It's a good-looking car, but you can't argue against the similarities between it and the Malibu. However, the Malibu never came with a 6.2-liter LS3 that had 415 horsepower or rear-wheel drive. This animal came with a 6-speed manual and magnetic ride control on those trims. It's a legitimate performance sedan that will draw 100-plus foot number 11 on the pavement if you doubt its abilities. And GM gave it a name that sounds like a trim package on something else. By the way, that is less than half the amount of cars that either the GTO or the G8 got. I know that because I have a calculator and I know how to use it. Are you surprised? I mean, I'm a regular ass genius. The first $1,000 to spend, do an intake and a tune. The LS3, like all LS platform engines, loves both of those things, and it'll make a huge difference in the car. If you have the mag ride, leave the suspension alone. It's really good from the factory. And yes, we all want to add more low, but we have to be smart about it if we've got the mag ride. You look for a set of springs that are designed to work with the magnetic dampers, and if you're on standard shocks, a set of coilovers are your next move. I mean, the ground's the limit. The nightmare situation on these is the magnetic ride control. The dampers are pretty expensive when they wear out, so make sure to keep some money tucked away for them. And while it's not really a total nightmare, more of a cost of ownership thing, tires are something to think about. There are some wide ones on the back of these things that aren't cheap. Once you figure out how big of a burnout you can do with it, you're going to go through them. And don't look at me like that. You don't have any self-control either. Holden built cars in Australia from 1948 to 2017. GM shut the whole brand down in 2020, and the SS was the last one we got from Holden in the US. That was it. But at least we still have Buick, right? 2011 to 2017, Chevy Caprice PPV. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen. We've arrived at the cheat code to get into this platform. The Chevy Caprice PPV. Police Patrol Vehicle is what that stands for. It was never ever sold to civilians new, so you couldn't order one from a dealer because it didn't get sold to the public. It wasn't like a add-on package. It was a whole ass car. You had to wait for a police department to be done with it, and then you make your move, striking like a ninja after dusk. Luckily, nobody at the auction is actually fighting you for these cars. To Australia, this is the Holden Caprice. It's a long wheelbase full-size sedan. It's built to the same plant in South Australia that everything else is on this list. It's got rear-wheel drive and 2 engine options. It's got a 3.6 liter V6 rated at 301 horsepower or a 6 liter V8 at 355. So really it's only got 1 engine option. No, it's actually not the L76 like the G8. It's the L77, which is a flex fuel variant of it. This happened because emissions requirement on law enforcement. Just a, fun fact to throw out there and impress people with at parties. The good thing is, these cars all belong to police departments, so they have maintenance schedules. These things were serviced on time because they actually had to run all the time, no matter what. So oils, fluids, the whole rotation on everything, they all got done. They lived a hard life, but they definitely weren't neglected cars. And because most people will see former police car and actually run away, you can get into these things for around $8,000, sometimes less. Super low mileage ones and the facelift ones are going to get a little bit more expensive, but all in, you can probably snatch one of these things for under $20K, no problem. It's rear-wheel drive, V8, Australian built, $8,000. I can't think of a single thing that could go wrong in that situation. So what's the nightmare situation? It's wiring issues. When they turn these things into police cars, they cut all into the harnesses. That equipment leaves behind spliced wires that aren't always documented. So lights, radios, someone put that stuff in, but not everyone took that stuff out very cleanly. Have a professional sort it out. Don't leave mystery circuits in your car. Also, make sure to inspect the drivetrain before you buy. These cars either lived at highway speeds under load or idling in the bushes waiting for you to come by at a totally legal speed because we never break the law ever. So make sure to check the rear differential and transmission, and make sure to check the running time or idle hours. Inspect it as much as you can before you commit because that low price can become not low in a real hurry. The first $1,000 you're going to spend, wiring cleanup if it needs it. Then do an intake and a tune. The L77 is going to wake up a lot more than the other ones will if you do this. Let that thing breathe and do an exhaust if you can. And then obviously more low. They sit way too high off the ground, so get rid of that wheel gap. It looks stupid. And honestly, if you show up at the races down in Mexico, people are going to run from you if you show up in a stock one. So now there are 2 types of people watching this video. There's ones that are already searching for Caprice PPV auction near me, and the ones who are going to tell me that owning a police car is weird. Tell me which one you are down there. And it's only weird if you leave the plastic back seat and make your kids ride back there, by the way. So make sure to check out the merch store if you're into shirts and stickers. Here's the QR code here. I got some left, but they're selling out, so get one while I still have them. I'm going to be running 20% off on all items, everything in the store, through Memorial Day. Then check out this video right here if you like this one, because if you like the one that you're watching now, you're going to love the one that I'm pointing at. So thanks for coming. I hope you enjoyed your time here, and I'll see you next time on Off Camera.